Welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Rudolf Okonkwo. There are two couples attending this together. Our next guest is one of them. She is the president of Women in This Initiative. She's also the president of the Campaign for Democracy. We are going to talk to her now about the national conference and how it's working out for her and for the family. This is part of our series of coverage of that national conference. Her name is Dr. Joe Odumakin. Dr. Odumakin, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Now, let me start with the state of things in the country now. Looking at your activities in the last few days, you've been attending protests about the Chibok girls that were abducted. It appears as if you would rather be somewhere else than at the national conference today.
Yes, like I rightly said, that getting me to sit at the national conference is one of the most difficult things for me, because I've not done it for a long time, sitting at the place, discussing for a very long time. My best bet is always to be on the streets, and that is where my strength lies. So having to contend with the fact that it was just heartbreaking for me to realize from April 14th that we had more than 200 of our girls that were taken hostage. They went to school to write their exams, and from there, no one could account for them. Also, thinking of the fact that where those girls might be, that these barbaric terrorists will also take advantage of them. Since they were taken on the 14th, the mothers sleep. And April 17th, Women Arise for Change Initiative issued a press statement telling our government that the girls must be rescued. But after some time, nothing was done. And then we started having a series of protests. Women Arise started mobilization of members and even Nigerians as a whole. And at the end, we gave an ultimatum that if the girls are not seen, that from May 12th, it starts nationwide protests. And it's been on. On the 12th, we had out of Lagos, we had Hollywood stars, we had musicians, everybody. We came together and first we viewed the clips on terrorism. And after viewing that, we had people speak. And then we had to tell our government, we told our president that for goodness sake, we should behave like the commander-in-chief of armed forces. And then that our border has remained porous. We'll have the Cameroon, Niger, and we'll have most of our guests taken away through that route. So we told the federal government through the governor of Lagos State that if nothing is done within 14 days, that after the series of protests, like as I speak with you, yesterday we were in Kaduna and we had a rally. We've been to Onitsha, Enugu, and as I speak with you, on Monday we'll be going to Kogi State. But the bottom line of the whole thing is that we let our government realize that there comes a time in the life of any nation when everybody will stand up in unison to say enough is enough. Tunisians did not complain in their living rooms. Egyptians did not do that. Syrians did not do that. They came out in unison. And that was how people then realized that we have to take our destiny in our own hands. And that vigilance is eternal watchword. So with this series of protests, which you said is not just sheer waste of time, but that the demands that we made was that first, the girls must be rescued. Secondly, we also welcome the initiative taken that the US, France, Britain, China should also render help, because the government was living in denial that they could go out all alone. But coming out to say that they were helpless, I mean, is another boost to what we were saying at the level of the human rights community. That probably the government must accept help from the international community. And then that happened. And people were worried, but I think that there will be a memorandum of understanding. Nigeria will still maintain its sovereignty, but our main focus is how to rescue these girls, because any moment, any second that is spent with the terrorists can spell doom for us as a race. And then apart from that, we need to be informed. There is an urgent need for us to stop speculating. And then the figures that we always have real doubts, it does not pay us. I mean, it does no good for us if we are not consistent, in whatever information that is being dished out. And again, we then told the government that after 14 days, if these girls are not rescued, and God forbid, then members, I'm talking about Women Rights, Campaign for Democracy, and these citizens as a whole will all go half naked to that Sambisa forest.
Oh, wow. That will be something. And now, what will... All right. So let me see. You said that the government should not yield to blackmail by the terrorists. What do you expect the government to do in this situation in terms of their negotiation with the terrorists?
Well, I mean, one thing that is a sort of burden to me really is that these girls are innocent. They are pure. I mean, they are just held hostage. So for anyone, for terrorists to dictate the terms, telling us that those that have perpetrated heinous acts, those have been responsible for the murder of our citizens, then we now, I mean, we cannot expect them to assert our collective integrity. So with terrorists now dictate the terms in telling our government that terrorists that are in detention should be released, and then our own innocent girls, our own today and our future, those who remain the lubricant for the survival of this society, those who are the engine room, those who are the life wire for a true society, should now take them and exchange them for terrorists. So told our government that government must never, ever succumb to terrorists, because if that happens, a bad precedent would have been set. If that means that today or tomorrow, if the girls are released, then the terrorists can also go and get some other young women and then dictate their own terms. So government must ensure that no one make the government of this country succumb to any blackmail. Well taken that we want our girls rescued. We need them now. They have spent more than a month and our heart bleeds. We cannot even consider the hardship those girls are going through. But I want our government to painstakingly consider the terms that the terrorists stating, because if they succumb to such blackmail, that would be the worst precedent that will be set, and then anything will happen. We'll have a constitution, we'll have a government, and the government must live up to its expectation. Any government that cannot guarantee security of lives and property is not living up to its constitutional responsibility. So blackmail office will want our government to do all that it can in order to ensure that Nigeria is secure and then terror is brought to an end. But the most important thing that we demand for now is that our girls must be rescued now.
Now, Dr. Odumakin, the president has now visited Chibok or anywhere near the forest. And you said that on the 27th, if nothing has been achieved, you will take Nigerians, both women and men, to go to the forest. Why do you think that the president has now gone there? And what does that say about his leadership in this crisis?
Well, it's really sad. Come to think about it. If anything happens, the government must be responsive and responsible, and must also ensure that its constitutional responsibility, the government lives up to that. If something happened in Chibok since 14th April, and up to this moment, the government has not visited. Look at some few hours ago, Nigerians, were still debating the issue that, well, the government at last has not decided to visit Chibok. But as I speak, nothing has happened. Any government that is elected in power, we can see things happening in other society. When something happens in the United States, when something happens around the world, you see the president will go there, visit, show compassion. Let people realize that those who voted such governments in power are as important. Injustice to one is injustice to all. And injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. And we cannot continue to theorize. We will have to walk the talk and not just talk the talk. So in doing this, I think that Nigerians are disappointed. And government needs to do a lot more. And that is why I've said that we have to take our destiny in our own hands. If the government, someone who is the president and commander-in-chief of armed forces, has not visited Chibok, then Nigerians must realize that we have to do that ourselves. We have to take our own destiny in our hands. We've seen some of the people there trying to secure their own environment because they know that if anything happens, they are the ones who will first feel the pinch. But I just want to counsel, I want to advise, because the citizens are still looking up to someone who will bring succor to them. It is bad, and it does not tell anything good for the government of the day by not going to visit the people who are the ones that get all the untold hardship that terrorism has brought in our land. So we are tired of talks, we are tired of rhetorics. We need to walk the talk and not just talk the talk on this. And that is why I've said that, all right, after 27, I think all of us must realize that we have to take our destiny in our own hands by going there and marching. And we know that there's no one who want to keep one's life except such life is secured by God. And that is why I want all of us to realize that with the build up to that date, and if our girls are not rescued, the only option and the only alternative that we have is for us to go there. And whatever happens, because all of us have the feeling that we are the only ones that can take our destiny in our own hands.
Now, the president traveled to France for security meetings, sort of. Do you think it's necessary for the president in this situation to go to France to discuss Nigeria's security problems when countries like America and China and Britain were offering help without having him come to them? Is that relevant?
I think that, as I speak here now, if this office is on fire, then how will I abandon the office and then run out? I think the insecurity of lives and property that has become a recurring decimal is a problem that we are confronting as a nation. And what does it tell? What sense does it make that leaving the shores of this country and going elsewhere to discuss security as it concerns our country? Time is now. Tomorrow might be late. It does not make any sense at all. There is no logic in that for the government to have left the shores of this country, first not going to Chibok, and then again leaving the shores of this country and going elsewhere to discuss security. I think that there is a need for us to prioritize what we are doing. If people are pushed to the wall, then they might react. Let's don't go to that length. Day in, day out, people are there suffering. Nobody knows what is happening. Even that region that people need to encourage before going to school. And now girls are there going to school and see what has happened to them. And within the the time frame, no one, not even a president or the government, has gone to pay official visit. And while people were expectant that something was happening, that government has retraced its steps, now is leaving the shores of this country to go and discuss security. It does not really match. It does not click. And that is not what we should do now. That is not our priority. We need our president. We need him to be in charge. We need him to show the citizens of this country that they will be better secured and that terrorism will come to an end soon.
Okay. Now, I will ask you one more question and then we take a break. When we come back, we will talk about the national conference, which is something that I want also to discuss with you. But let me ask you, you were born in the North, and what happened to the North of the past? And how do you think the northern part of the country will recover from this Boko Haram crisis at the end of all this?
Yes, I was born in the North, Zaria to be specific. And I had the early part of my primary education, there. And the North then were all one. Even my father was not from the North, but he worked there in the ministry. So we had one Nigeria. And then we had then a Nigeria that worked. So, but gradually, things kept drifting. As somebody, while I was still going to school, kindergarten, primary school, I see a few boys and girls. You see them carrying plates, begging for alms. By the time I go to school, I return to school, you see some of these boys, they are still outside, they are begging for alms. Day in, day out, there was a build-up of the army of beggars, that we had. And then all of a sudden, we had people that were not employed, people that were not, they were not going to school. And then the gap, we had that yawning gap. So some of these boys that were supposed to be my age group, all of a sudden grew up. And they then realized that when they were born, justice, fairness, and equity was lacking. They also found out that in terms of unemployment, in terms of development, and they found some of the few modern people that they had, that some of them were stupendously rich. So all of a sudden, you find out that these people became, they became a critical mass, and then the anger came out. So what we really have now is a situation where we have people who are aggrieved, people who have the feeling that they've been shortchanged, but I think that there could still be a way in which they could be reassured. And that way that they can be reassured, some schools were built called Almajiri schools, but that is not enough. There is the urgent need for some of my brothers and sisters that are in that part of the country to realize we cannot continue to talk about peace where there's no justice. So there must be justice, fairness, and equity for all of us to come together to become one. Because there is no need, it's not possible for one to clap with one hand. You need the second hand for one to clap. And that is why all of us must come together as one. And in coming together, we must ensure that we have a country where justice, fairness, and equity reigns. Although there is nothing else should replace dialogue. I think that terrorism must be strongly condemned. It should have no place in our vocabulary. That is not the last option. I think a better option still remains dialogue. And while dialoguing, we must ensure that justice, fairness, and equity reigns.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Odumakin. We are going to take a brief break. When we come back, we will talk about the national conference, which you are a delegate to, and I want to hear your views on what has been going on there. So stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Azania, and you're watching Sahara TV, Everything Africa.
Hi, I'm Annika from Moshu. Hi, I'm Christina and I'm modeling here today. And you're watching Sahara TV, Everything Africa.
This is Isaac Catalai, straight from the DRC, giving shout out to